Hi everyone, my name is Camilla Knight. I'm an emeritus professor at Swansea University, as well as a professor at the University of Agder in Norway, and the Director of Impact, Innovation and Engagement for Greenhouse Sports. I'm delighted to have a chance to join you just to very briefly talk to you about parents in sport and just why parents are so important. Over the last 20 years, I have dedicated all of my working time, my research time to understanding this topic, which started back in 2006, where I was interested in understanding the experience of parents who had children involved in sport. And over that time, I have conducted numerous studies with young people, with parents, with coaches, with organizations to really think about, how we can optimize parents' involvement in sport, how we can make sure that parents are involved in the very best ways so that young people can have the most positive and enjoyable experiences. When I first started researching in this area in 2006, there wasn't much attention paid to parents. And in fact, mostly consideration of parents was just pushing them to the side, thinking that when children entered into sports, they became the responsibility of the coach, and that parents really should just stay on the sidelines and not interfere. When I first came into this space, this idea that parents shouldn't be involved was really tricky for me to get my head around, because we absolutely need parents to be involved. And over the last 20 years, there's been a big shift in our understanding of that. And it's why I've always been delighted that the Child Protection in Sport unit has really paid attention to parents and understood just how vital parents are in ensuring that young people have safe and enjoyable experiences. Over the next few minutes, I thought I'd just share a few kind of hints and tips and a little bit about what the research tells us. Well, first and foremost, as I've already alluded to, the research consistently shows us that parents are absolutely vital parts of young people's sporting journeys. We cannot have youth sport in the way that it's currently structured, at least, without parents. We also know that parents are really important as role models, both in terms of them engaging in physical activity themselves or engaging in sport themselves, but also in the types of behaviors that they display on the sidelines, in the way that they respond to winning and losing, in the way that they respond to, teammates' behavior, to their own child's behavior, the types of things that we see on the sidelines. Kids see that, they pick up on that, and they think that is or isn't acceptable within that environment. And we also know that parents are really important in terms of helping children to make sense of their experience. So if parents are really happy when children win and then really sad when children lose, guess what? Children think that winning and losing is really important. If parents are really, really positive about trying hard and working hard, and they really emphasize their effort, typically children start to think that that's important as well. So parents play this role of interpreter. They help children to understand what's going on. It sounds like, it feels like we should be able to say, well, if parents do this, then this will be good and children will have positive experiences. And if parents avoid this, then that will be important, and young people will have better experiences. The research doesn't consistently show that. Now, obviously, there is absolutely a line that parents cannot cross. When we're talking about abuse, if we're talking about emotional abuse or physical abuse, we absolutely do not have a place for that within sport. And so, there is absolutely a line that we do not want to see being crossed. But when it comes to how you might demonstrate support, whether you would be silent on a sideline or clapping on a sideline or cheering, whether it's talking about tactics with your child or not talking about tactics, it's not quite as neat and tidy as we might like to think. And that's because what we know from the research and what we consistently see from the research is that young people like different things from their parents. Some children just like their parents to be present. They just like to know that they're there in their corner, whatever happens. Others like them to be cheering. Others like them to be positively responding to the types of things that they're doing. Other children don't like their parents there at all. They maybe feel that it's a bit of pressure to try and perform in front of their parent. And so what's really important here, especially when we think about competitions, is that young people and parents need to understand what they want from each other. And it sounds really, really simple, but when we talk to parents often, or when you talk to young people, often in sports settings, they've never had that conversation. They haven't talked about what's important and what's not important. How do they, how is the young person interpreting their parents' behavior is important as well. So as a parent, I might think that standing on the sideline, clapping and cheering is really positive, and I'm only saying good things. I'm only saying really positive things. I'm really trying to be encouraging. But my child might interpret that as pressure. My child might feel I have to perform well because then I get these claps and these cheers. And what the research does tell us is young people like different things from their parents, and young people will interpret parents' behaviors in different ways because parents' behaviors are an illustration of the broader parenting style, the broader way that parents are engaging with their children. And so actually it's not as easy as saying these are the good things to do and these are the bad things to do. It's about saying you need to understand your child and your child needs to understand you. And the most important thing to make sure that parents are involved in the most positive ways is for parents and children to regularly communicate, to regularly chat together and reflect on, well, in this competition, I did these types of things. How did you feel about that? And the child being able to be open and honest with their parent, and parents being able to be responsive to this. And so, what I would often talk about when I'm working with young people, or parents, or coaches, or organizations, is trying to put kind of termly check-ins, similar to the parents' evening at school, but this one's between a parent and a child. What have we done really well together this season? What's really worked? What's really, over the last few months, what have I done that's been helpful to you? And is there anything that's not been so helpful that you'd like me to change? And then demonstrating that, as a parent, you're hearing that and that you're willing to make a change in what you're doing is really important. And actually, those regular check-ins are important because what young people want from their parents, as I alluded to right at the beginning, changes over time. And we need to be in a situation where parents can adapt their behaviors based on what their children are saying so that they can continue to progress. And that type of support, that kind of what we would call responsive support from a parent, where they're demonstrating to their child that they understand them, that they're demonstrating to their child that they care about them, they care about what's important, and that they're understanding they value what the child is saying, that's been associated with all sorts of positive outcomes from young people, higher levels of thriving, positive self-esteem, um, positive self-efficacy, all these things that we know are really good for young people, both to progress and to enjoy their sporting experience, but also more broadly outside of sport. Just one thing that's also important to remember is it's not just what parents do at competitions which has an impact. Research that we've conducted with young people typically shows that in the home environment, not too much conversation around sport is typically preferable, but again, it varies between children. That there's often a view that, in the home is a chance to have quality conversations, to have family time, to have downtime, to have time away from sport, to really enjoy each other's company and to develop shared experiences and shared memories that aren't sport specific. Then when it comes to training, often young people quite like having some training time to themselves. This can be an opportunity for them to take a bit of ownership, to not feel that their parent is always there and always watching them, but at the same time, their parents having a little bit of knowledge about what's happening in training and being present for some of that, and then being able to communicate with their child about what they're doing is really important. But that can only happen if, as I again alluded to earlier, coaches talk to parents. So it's not just competitions, it's what happens at home, it's what happens around training. It's about parents tailoring their behaviors to the specific needs of their child. And if we can do all of those things, which maybe summarized in 5 minutes seem relatively simple, but are quite complicated, we will be in a position where parents can be involved really positively. We will be in a position where parents are able to engage in the types of behaviors that young people like and in the most possible positive ways. And that is 20 odd years of research summarized there. If anyone would like any further information or, more specific guidance or advice, please feel free to contact me.